Ajit has had to leave Delhi for Madras due to family emergency. And so Vibhuti ji shall be holding the fort, and I'm sure there's nobody better than him to defend our dear Kamala ji. So, sir, in Kamala ji words, can you explain what exactly is the Ukraine problem?
And thank you very much. I sincerely hope everything is fine with our dear Abhijit Mitra, which I was reading the comments of some of the people that he's a CIA agent, he's a KGB agent. And there was one person who said, "Aaj taka kya gyan pega." Love Abhijit. So, the way he inspires people to make comments. And in that spirit, I hope everything is fine with Abhijit's family and whatever he had to. So, Kamalaji's statement was something, you are really under the impact. I can't stop laughing at. But she proves.
Please repeat, please repeat. I think our audience deserves it. It deserves to listen to it. Do you want to play it? Let me check the desk whether they can play it again. They
If
play
they
it in
explain that, if
I-
they can play, that would be great. But it proves a very important point. And that,
well, he says he's not able to play.
okay.
So you can recount.
No, yeah, there's something like Ukraine is in Europe, Russia is also in Europe. They are neighbors, and Russia attacked Ukraine. That's
Russia has a bigger neighbor.
bigger neighbor. So it proves a very important
Bigger
point.
neighbor attacked small neighbor, and it's not good. It doesn't square up with our something.
That's
something.
right. That's right. So the point here is very
I think
important.
it's the best explanation that a kindergarten kid can give.
Exactly.
If he's asked about Ukraine. So congratulations to you that in the United States you have such wonderfully vibrant and full of intellect people like Kamala Harris. Of course, you always have a Joe Biden, the CPO, who doesn't know the difference between Ukraine and Iran. So that's also great. I think you're having a good time.
There was a tweet, very nice tweet actually. He thought UK plus Iran gave Ukraine. So, but it is important. This is something which the rest of the world doesn't know. In India, we know a lot more about happenings. In America, what is interesting is that there was a joke that there's so many experts right now that people have been told first identify where is Ukraine on the map, then give your expert opinion. So in America, what happens is that every little town is a country in itself. I don't have to go anywhere else. Even tiny towns with 20,000, 30,000 people, they're quite sufficient. They don't need to go to 100 mile out to do some shopping. Shopping is Allahabad. But a lot of people do not know the world. Americans don't have passports yet. They don't have passport, as it must be in many parts of the world. But for us to believe that Americans know everything is our fault.
Okay. Right. I remember it's quite some while back. I think I'm talking of it's probably 1980, 84. I was transiting and I was transiting without visa through United States, and I was given the care of 10 years of West Fargo while I was in transit. And the gentleman who was calling me, he asked me, "Where is India?" I was really gratified.
I've been asked this question when I came here in 91, sir. India is the same country which is next to Bangladesh, and between Pakistan and said, no, they are alongside India. It is. Ignorance is very, very powerful.
So I think if they were to, some of these Americans were to be dropped into a village of Bihar or UP, and the locals there, the villagers there, they teach them nuances of politics. I think these guys would be bowled over.
They generally are blower, particularly when you explain to them the nuances of Indian politics, the way we are, they have no idea. So think about it like this. This is last year. The famous swastika thing took place. Chinese, Americans, Jews, they all confessed on a Zoom call, which is on record somewhere. We did not have any idea that this was such an important symbol for you, including a guy called Kevin Thomas, Malayali, who also said, who was one of the signatories to the bill, who admitted, I did not know that it was so important for you. He was taken to task for that, actually. But be that as it may, being a Kerala guy and saying,
how can you expect them to know about swastika, which actually depicts the movement of the cosmos, and they don't have the idea of the world? They don't know where is Ukraine. Ukraine is a small country in Europe, and Russia is a big country in Europe.
They have no idea. So
anyway, that was a little laughing matter. Now let's come to the serious business of discussing this Ukraine and this threat of the Third World War, which has just been told to us. I read about it, Bhuti talking about it, and saying NATO is complicating matters. And I think the whole Ukraine thing is about NATO complicating matters. What do you say?
It is. I mean, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I had mentioned that this is a classic European melodrama playing out when they draw their boundaries within the European continent and they make it as a global war scenario, global concern for everybody. So think about it like this. It's a very important thing to get in mind. Before I talk about Ukraine, think about it like the world is governed by 2 very principal institutions. And principal, I mean to say large ones, not principal, is like NATO. Who is NATO? It's a white man country club. It is, I won't say it is a white supremacy thing, but it is a white man's club, NATO, where all the 40 countries or 30 and whatever, you attack one and everybody is attacked. It's basically a threat mechanism to the whole world that you can't do that. The second one is OIC, who don't even hide the identity. They say, I am an organization of Islamic countries. Think about it. These are the people who are driving the game. And in the NATO scenario, NATO is playing the game for sure. Because two things have happened in the 21st century as we know it. That focus of the world has shifted from Europe out. It is India, China, two largest supermarkets of the world where everybody wants to do business with. But they need to control it because both these countries are quite independent-minded. So they need to control that. How do you control them then? You have to either directly confront them or nudge them into doing something. So here's one step back. Biden's becoming president is analogous to somewhere along the line our Honorable Manmohan Singh becoming Prime Minister. Think about it like this. Everybody, you know it, I know it, the world knows it. Under Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, the real power was somewhere else. And everybody was running their own little fiefdom, whether in finance ministry or contract awards or whatever. You know that. That's what has happened with Biden coming to power. He's not running the show, in my opinion. People may like or may not like it. The people, the establishment that is famously known as, they have gotten into full swing. So what is the United States doing? It's nudging the three big powers, China, with Taiwan adding up, or justified or not, I'm not going into that. India, by leaving $1 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan, you think it was an accident? And nudging Russia to Ukraine. Now, this is very important to bear in mind. All along, people have been talking that Russia is the superpower that can match United States in nuclear technology and nuclear weaponry. Nobody can fight. How do you bring down a big enemy? You let out a country like Ukraine, where a supposedly comedian is the prime minister, president, nudge him into doing something, promise him a reward, and in the process, what happens is Russia gets impatient. As the famous saying goes, the smartest people make dumb mistakes. There will always be an argument about did Russia need to do the kind of thing they invaded. You can't justify that invasion in any way, other than the fact that NATO was not prepared to listen to Russian concerns of their insecurity or advancing the NATO boundaries to Russian territory. That was the only request. And I like to have it, the odds of Ukraine becoming a NATO member are not that high, other than the emotional content of that. So it is only to nudge Russia into taking a desperate effort that brought together the United of all the NATO here. And what we are seeing here, Sanjay ji, is a very dangerous thing. We are seeing an era of sanctions come in. Just yesterday, China sanctioned Taiwan for Taiwan upgrading its air defense systems. So who is going to impose sanctions on whom? It's a very interesting play. And
So, let's concentrate on Ukraine, because Ukraine is also central to the establishment hunting Donald Trump. Because we remember Donald Trump was very eager to normalize relations with Russia because he
yes,
was weaker, but the main adversary is China. And they got Ukraine into it, then they got something from Ukraine to backkill Trump, and then got something from this guy, Zelensky, and they found something to blackmail him, and then they put all this together, and they managed to nudge or persuade or coerce Trump into maintaining his stance against Russia, against his
right,
best sense. We have all been saying what's wrong with the US establishment. For God's sake, the adversary is China. So if you want to call China, you have to have Russia on your side. You can't fit them together. And here they are, the wonderful strategic compass that they have. They have not only put Russia and China together, they have probably pushed India also towards them.
right. Because it's clear, Sanjay ji, that what's happening is that it is the West's desire to dominate the geopolitics of the world. It's all about power. It's all about control. Europe is no longer the market for the world. It is India and China. Russia was becoming a problem. You have to control, and they had policy very different, one at a time. And so when they broke up United USSR, next was China and India. This game will play out. It's basically a geopolitical power game in which you are using instruments. Now you know that all the number of companies that have stopped doing business with Russia. You are looking at annihilating Russia through the sanction mechanism without firing a bullet. So you have a very dangerous scenario. This can play out against China. This can play out against India tomorrow if you want to do that. And India needs to worry about it. India definitely needs to worry about it because through Ukraine, you're choosing virtually a country that has not seceded with Russia, which declared independence in 1991. It was part of the Russian cultural lifestyle. They are basically the same people. Punjabis of Pakistan and Punjabis of this place all speak Punjabi, regardless of your religion.
And of the same religion, the same church.
Same church.
They both belong to the Russian Orthodox Church.
Absolutely.
Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus.
Right.
These are the only three countries among those old free Soviet republics who are all with the Russian Orthodox Church.
Right. So they have chosen a country
So
like
you think that Russia has upstaged this whole game that they had been playing one at a time, and Russia said, "No, thus far, no further. Here you take, and now if you so much as bat or eyelid, you will have a nuclear strike. You'll have a third world war upon you." And here we see these people cowering, running away with their tail between their legs, and staying here in Washington and in London, and saying that, "Hey, we can't possibly come to your assistance with any boots on the ground." But hey, you can always take some of these lollipops. You can have some missiles, and you can have some javelins, and you can have some stingers and things. And of course, we have no means of reaching it to you because your airspace is closed. And Zelensky said, "Oh, why don't you declare a no-fly zone?" They say, "Hey, we don't want to enforce a no-fly zone. No, we'll come into direct confrontation with the Russian." So hey, they are challenging you directly anyway. So why don't you take up the confrontation? No, no, no. We are such a season. We don't want to be cancelled by Russia. No, it's our prerogative to cancel. We don't want to be cancelled by Russia. Russia will cancel us permanently. I mean, what are these people talking? They Ukraine down the garden path. I think who said that? Down the primrose path. That was a beautiful quote. They said took Ukraine down the primrose path, and they just left them there for cold in the cold, and they are getting killed. They are getting, and yet at the same time, no, 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 you must defend democracy. I mean, like, come on, give me a better joke. Zelensky, a Democrat. What about Hunter Biden?
You
Zelensky
have
again.
you are saying absolutely straight up on this matter, and you know that it was Vice President Biden who was giving lectures to Ukrainians about corrupt practices and saying that you will not get your $1 billion until you fire your attorney or whatever that was concerned dealing Hunter's case. Think about it like this. So there's something going on there that is not visible to naked eye. Things will emerge, and Ukraine did play a role with the promise to get you into NATO at some point in time. But it is very important also to bear in mind, that democratic aspiration is a very tricky word. You have your own democratic aspiration, I have my democratic aspiration, and they can be very different. So the question is, who chooses whose democratic aspiration is valid, and whose democratic aspiration is invalid or wrong? That's the interesting element that one has to work on. Because just as Atithi Devo Bhava, not all Atithi are Devas, right? So we have to make a distinction between which Atithi is Deva and which is not. Then only we can deal with people who are come to our doors. So Ukraine is one of those volleyball items here, used to snipe at Putin. Because remember one thing, a boxing match, say for example, if I were to fight
He used to
Muhammad
snipe Rishi at Trump.
yes, so if I'm a Bhuija and I'm fighting with a Sonny Liston or Muhammad Ali, my goal is only one. I know they will make a pulp out of me with one mark. My goal is only one. Somewhere along the line, I land a punch which cuts over the ear, eyes, or makes a bleed through the nose. That will be the news item. So today, Zelensky, who Palestinians are supporting Russia because Zelensky is a Jew. So you have a very bizarre scenario of one supporting the other for God knows what reason. Iran says it is the mafia, is the American mafia that is the cause of all the battle that is going on in Ukraine. So you have varieties of play going on. The interesting part is today, because of technology, we know things instantly. And we're able to come to what you call a point of view, which is important. In all these kind of things that are happening, Ukraine is a player that has been promised all kinds of things. And a significant number of Ukrainians are my friends in the US. Yeah, some are business partners. And they are saying that Russia is doing this, Russia is doing that, which is correct. But nobody is talking about Russia's security needs. Is it valid? Is it justified or not? That issue is not a discussion. This is what the whole scenario is all about. Ukraine has been used to spite Russia. Putin. Yesterday, actually, think about it, the Western media particularly. They even talked about mental stability. That's the story went along. Is Putin the same person that we knew about it? Then there was a thing, one Republican governor made a statement yesterday. Oh, Putin has to go. There has to be a regime change in Russia. So you
Oh,
can
and
see.
that's what they keep trying all the time. Regime change.
Exactly.
They have that God's right to change regimes at will wherever they want. In fact, I've been trying to change Modi for the last 8 years.
Exactly. But
That's
trust me on one
they
thing,
try.
the West will come, this particular model of sanctions and things like that will come to India come 2024. But there are already days happening, and that's what we need to be worried about as well. That this caravan or this platoon of evil is coming to destabilize India because they can't handle the truth that a strong man is leading the country. Good, bad, ugly, support him or don't support him. But you can't deny the fact that this man has somewhere along the line stood up. And he's counting his own beats. He's not letting anybody else count beats. So the point here is very simple. That we have to be concerned about it. Because a few years ago, they had a seminar here, in which many illustrious names were there, who talked about India on the brink. It's a website called indiaonthebrink.com, in which they talk about the likelihood of a genocide happening in India. Because somebody made a statement of that effect, or not true, or whatever. The statement was attributed that Muslims must be killed. So, that is the issue that one has to be very careful about. And how you deal with it. That's very important here. So, just without fighting a bullet, they are making Ukraine a playground. Just a Poland became a scenario there. France surrendered. Ukraine is the playground on which they are trying to censure, sizen small, put it back to size. And
It's not happening. In fact, what is happening is, I'll give you a better description of this, what you're calling a playground. I think Ukraine has this great urge, like Pakistanis, to play the concubine.
I don't want to use that word. I'm sitting in New York. Somebody will sue me for that.
Somebody will cancel you.
Somebody will cancel me.
You're afraid of being cancelled. Putin is not afraid of
No,
being
I'm not
cancelled.
afraid of being
And,
cancelled.
and,
I'm
and,
not
and
afraid of
that is
being
why
cancelled. I'm enjoying it.
anybody who is not afraid of being cancelled can beat the hell out of these Yankees.
Yes.
In you are Yankee, I guess.
I'm Yankee. I'm sitting in New York. I'm a pure Yankee. I'm a baseball Yankee fan. The only reason why I'm a New York Yankee fan because they're against Red Sox of Boston. That's simple as that. Otherwise, cricket is far more interesting to watch than the baseball game as such. But there's something that we need to put in mind very clearly is that, in this scenario, Europe is trying to look strong. Europe has lost its moorings and bearings. They are a European Union thoroughly divided. That's the important part. They needed something to unite themselves. They needed some external
I
factor.
mean, first year to have been played by guys like Biden, Kamala Harris.
Right.
Anybody who can be played by Biden and Kamala Harris, I pity their IQ, really.
But Europeans,
But you say that even Biden and Kamala Harris are being played by somebody else?
uh, establishment is something that we know about. But Biden and Kamala Harris think about it from this. They need American money. Just as Europe would not have won the Second World War if the United States had not gotten, right? We know that. If the United States hadn't gotten its might in the Second World War, we would perhaps all be speaking German. Think about that. And Gandhi won't be existing because Gandhi would have turned upside down by Germans.
That would be good for us. And Netaji's boss also have come and think that would have been much better
Right.
than having this idiotic new dynasty with us.
Right. That's very true. That's very true.
So let's discuss the war scenario that is happening. And I'm also amused by the fact that these people, they try to fight the war, the Ukrainians and the West, more on Instagram and Facebook and other social media than in the field. And they were trying to fake the same kind of things that keeps happening all the time in the virtual world. And here, Russians were just zooming in and they were only taking about 25% of Ukraine. And they landed the paratroopers at Kharkiv, which is their second largest city, and they encircled Kiev, of course, the Iranian city, the Iranian capital
Right.
of Kiev, according to Sleepy Joe. And they have cut off the access to Sea of Azov for, uh, for the Ukrainians, and even the battery access is practically cut off. So they are actually under siege from at least three sides. Only that western side, with the border to Romania, Slovakia, Hungary, and Poland, that is still open. So how long do you think that they're going to hold on?
It will holding on by Ukraine can't hold on by itself unless until the West is able to cripple Russian movements through
No, but they're not doing it. No.
They are not doing it.
They declined. They said that we are not imposing no-fly zone because
Right. Not imposing no-fly zone, and America, interestingly enough, has not changed its energy policy vis-a-vis Russia.
yes, they're buying their oil,
Definitely. Not only that, they cancel their
their
own
oil and gas.
oil thing, and they're depending upon Russia to supply oil for this part of the world. This is a very interesting play going on. It is very difficult to predict, but some of the things, outcome that we're seeing here, this particular thing is not happening to benefit Russia. Russia would be making a big mistake if after its Afghan experience and US experience in Afghanistan and Iraq, if it chooses to occupy Ukraine, because Ukraine has a population of 40 million people. So you don't want to get into a street battle. You don't want to get into an insurgency situation. So the point here is very important that the extent of damage, why are they moving such a huge army if you do not have the intention of occupying? Do you become a sitting duck? Now, there was a story, everybody knows, we have seen it here, that a 40-mile caravan of trucks and all these kind of stuff were driving towards Kyiv. And somebody said that they can be easy target for an air bombing. And the response was that no, they can't. They can't. It will be direct war with Russia. So that's why it is very tricky gameplay going on. I don't think Russia would commit the mistake of occupying Ukraine unless Putin wants to go back to pre-1991 scenario and annex.
I think it doesn't have to occupy directly also, no? You can bring Yanukovych back and Yanukovych will do a job for him. And another thing is that the Afghanistan comparison probably needs to be matched because you must realize that these people are the same Slavic stock, the Ukrainians.
Yes.
And if you go back to history, what they call Rus, as it is called in the Russian language, and as it is written in that Cyrillic script, that Rus original is what is called Kievan Rus. That is the first Russian kingdom that ever got formed, and that is why Putin said that culturally is our part. In fact, our Russian culture began in Kiev. So how can Kiev be separate from Russia? So that I think there was an interesting thread which I tweeted by Pankaj Singh, my friend. And if you get an occasion, please do go through that thread. And even if it does choose to occupy Ukraine, it won't be that difficult because people are of the same stock. And my hunch is that much of what is being pumped up by the by the Western propaganda machine, is just that propaganda.
That's very true, because what is the news that we get to hear about the entire theater? Is BBC, is Fox, is CNN, and some of the agencies that are talking about are all agencies that Western media. Do we get to know what is happening from other sources? They call it propaganda and they stop it. Because there was a video that went out where Putin was addressing a large number of people press conference in which he said, "I'm not at the border of America, Mexico border, trying to threaten America. Why are you threatening me by coming to my border?" Right? He also said, that United States annexed Texas. United States has annexed so many territories and become United States of America. I'm not annexing anything. I'm only reclaiming what was mine. So but that doesn't get courage. That doesn't get
Not
courage.
only that, he said, I haven't gone to the US border. US has come to my border. So
Correct.
it's their problem, not mine.
And then
And
Meta and others threatened to blockade that entire propaganda, Russian propaganda. They call it. Even the RT and other agencies, they can't
my
touch it
hunch,
anymore.
what this whole this so-called rules-based order has been torn asunder by Putin, and by doing that, Putin has done all of us, especially us Indians, a great service. And therefore, I'm amused at people like Arnab Goswami who are jumping up and down talking human rights and things, and ignoring the complete what is called the history play that is going on in the world. It's just missing the woods for the trees.
There is one thing happening here. The control of the Western media institutions. I've said this before, and I will say this: the West has been absolutely outstanding at creating institutions through which they control the narrative and the issues. Think about it for a moment. Think about it for a moment like this. The media is one, right? The other one is World Bank, IMF. Every developing country needs money from World Bank, IMF. They created the institutional framework. You have Olympics. You have World Cup of hockey, cricket. Everything is controlled by the Western thing, other than cricket, where you can say that India has the largest chunk of presence there. But you look at from this point, we Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Prizes, you have Oscar, you have Emmy, you have Pulitzer. What has happened is that globally, everybody wants to have Western endorsement, approval, and acceptance. And we all try. So any author wins a Pulitzer, we say, oh, Pulitzer Prize winner author. We don't even read it. So these institutional frameworks that have been created is basically to control the rest of the world. IMF, World Bank is that kind of scenario. You run out of money, you come to IMF, they impose the conditions. And that's what is being challenged. But you were right about that. That Putin and China are challenging that hegemony of the West to the side. But China has already said that we are not stopping our dealings with Russia at all. No banking will go away. So what will happen? Somebody will send money to China, and that China will send money to Russia. So
Exactly.
you have to think about it. China has assured Russia that we will take care of all your manufacturing needs and supplies. India and Russia already deal in rupee, ruble. Iran is also dealing. So you are looking at a very interesting play in the dollar monopoly, dollar-denominated transactions will also get affected because people will say, I will accept your currency. Here comes Bitcoin. Think about it.
Bitcoin, and you can remember we have had a very long-standing what is called rupee trade
Yes,
between India and Russia,
yes,
and that can get revived. India has its own UPI system now.
right,
At least for a lot of transactions, you don't have to depend on SWIFT and can upgrade it for international transactions.
correct.
And it is the right time for India to think like China and use, or rather, look at all these multinationals, including all Twitter, Facebook, even the one that we're talking on, and all these as instruments that can be weaponized, as they are doing it with the Russians.
Right.
And well, India is again abstained in the United Nations General Assembly, and I have huge respect for Prime Minister Modi as far as this is concerned. He has put India's interest at the top, and for once, I am happy that he's not seeking the approval of the West.
That's right. It was long overdue not to seek approval. And this is very important. India has to recognize and act. That's very important. That we are a country that is the most important, very important. We're the MIP VIP kind of a country. We are not in the era of 20 years ago. We are now in a different era. There are certain things that India must pull its punches, as the saying goes. You have to pull your punches. If you do not pull your punches now, when else? And that's what the rest of the world is concerned about. The Western world is concerned about. If science and technology driven India and China and other countries rise up, they have their hegemony is threatened. That is true. Because all said and done, it is extremely critical to know that NATO, OIC, and others are quasi-military institutions joined together. Where is SARC? What is ASEAN? Where are China-sponsored groups? None of them are working. So there needs to be an Asian NATO kind of a thing. That you come to our territory and do something, the West is not letting it happen because they pull their own colonial mindset powers. This is what is important to remember, is that we have to understand that we are a very important country, we are a very proud country, and we have to assert ourselves to claim our legitimacy to be counted. Why are we going around OIC to be an invitee country in their events? No, let them invite us. We are important. Why are we trying to be part of something when people don't want you to be part of that? Let's not go there. But let's create a structure. And for that, we have to begin to think differently. And we have to think about our needs. What do I want? Do I want Twitter to or Meta to ban Shiva Stuti being sung? Because they don't understand what the hell is that all about? We need to take the sanction part very seriously. We have to impose sanctions on countries that are inimical to us, that want to hurt us. We have to take that stand. And if you don't take that stand, you get taken for granted. That's the important part, is that we have to recognize the social media, the whatever it is. I mean, for all the things that Twitter, India, and Facebook does, and bans and doesn't ban, I mean, let the government of India says the government of India is acting. Put a 7 ban. Let's see what happens. No sky is going to fall. We will continue to do things will happen just as that. But the Western control of institutions of defining things that needs to change. We don't need Hollywood approval to know that our music is good or not. That's what I'm trying to say. Although Hollywood, by the way, uses our storyline to write a script and make a movie. So I gave that example to an American friend of mine when he asked me, "Why do you have so many gods?" I said, "Have you seen the movie Avengers: The Endgame? You had extremely talented people, extremely skilled people come together to defeat Thanos the evil. Think about it from that point of view. That's what our gods are all about. Our gods, our temples are like hospitals. You have a heart problem, you don't go to the cardiac, you don't go to the neurosurgeon to fix your heart problem. You go to the concerned person who fixes that problem for you. That's what our temples are. I go to do worship of Ganeshi, Mahalakshmi, Shivaji. Venateshwar doesn't come with a bala killing. We have to begin to demolish certain structures or stereotypes that exist about us. And
Okay,
until
I have
we
some
do that,
breaking news.
yeah,
Breaking news. I have the detail of the United Nations General Assembly vote that actually calls upon the USSR to withdraw its invasion. In favor 141, against 5, abstentions 35.
absence is 35. Okay.
And India and China and South Africa and Pakistan also have abstained.
So shall we say we are in bad company or Pakistan is a good company?
Bangladesh has abstained.
Right.
Bangladesh has abstained as well as Sri Lanka. So I think a lot of people under India's influence seem to have abstained.
Right. SARC counted. SARC is united for once.
India and Pakistan voting on the same side.
But to give credit to Prime Minister Modi, he did ask both the countries to stop the war and get to the peace talks.
Oh, India, the president is absolutely correct.
Correct.
India has China on its borders, and India cannot afford to have a Russia-China link up against itself. Plus, 70% of our weaponry is Russian origin.
Right.
It will become unserviceable if we take a panga with Russia. So I think let's end at this note and take questions.
Sure.
Pope Muhammad, Russia should offer rebated cash in lieu of EU leaving NATO. I think this can't be a strategic affairs expert with Russia. What are you doing? I'm going to recommend you Putin, Popaji. International embarrassment for US. Game हो जाएगा boss सच्ची बोल रहा हूँ.
It's
What
all
do you say,
about
Vibhuti?
it is all about commodity play by itself. It is definitely there. Everybody needs energy. Everybody needs fuel. And Russia, these are issues which are very important to bear in mind. Oil, solar energy, climate change. Here's this guy talking about climate change will be the biggest damage will happen to climate change agenda if this war continues. This is what John Kerry was saying. It's a laughable point. Issue is that gas will be very important now that Germany has cancelled what was the name as?
Nord Stream 2.
Nord Stream 2. They cancelled it. It was not going to go through, but hundreds of people have laid off already. It is shut. It will have a very disastrous effect, and Russia can supply. That's what China is assured of. All said and done, China will be the sole bar of Russian energy. So will be India. So you are looking at a very serious game for Europe. Biden trade released 30 million barrels of oil to the United States, which is exactly 1.5 days of US consumption. And that's a joke. This is what's important. You cancel the gas pipeline in the US to Russia to do it, and you're buying Russian oil as yet. So Russia can do that, definitely do that. And I'm sure if we are able to talk about it, some Russian think tank is thinking about it as well.
I look at Russia, China, and India. Of course, add Pakistan together and Bangladesh. So the entire original India.
The original India.
Yes, that's almost half of the landmass of the world and almost half of the economy of the world. So what are these guys talking about? Where are they headed? Let's take the next question.
Yeah.
Nirvan Ghosh, what are the pros and cons of Ukraine? That is either 1, a defang state, 2, sharing governance with the Donbass region with Russia, 3, surrendering and becoming a part of Russia. Good question.
Very good question. It is important. Ukraine is a large landmass. It's 40 million people. It's not a small number. It's not a 50,000 people country with the size of a peanut. So you're looking at how do you defang it? That's an important part. It had a nuclear capability at 1.9, which it surrendered for support by America and others, right? It didn't come. Can it become defanged? It doesn't have anything as of now. So the issue of defanging doesn't matter. It is already defanged because the nuclear thing went away. So far as the sharing the governance of Donbass region with Russia, there are such significant. They're the same people. They're the same people. They can share governance, but they will not. There's sovereignty matters in these scenarios. If you're a country, I don't want to share any part of my country to share the governance of any country with some other country. That's not going to happen. Surrendering and becoming part of Russia, that is a choice that everybody makes. So even If Balochistan wants to become part of India, that is a choice that group of people will have to exercise, and Russia will have to, or India will have to acknowledge that part. I do not think surrendering is going to happen. None of the things will going to happen. But Russia has definitely chipped on. The Donetsk region and another region that is alongside, they have taken over. So if they are going to surrender, that's a moot point. Will that be a negotiating point? Perhaps.
Right. Next one. Yendra Mavinda, great words. Thank you, Yendra Manavi. Poverty and Ukraine must understand the NATO they are banking upon has left them to die on street sheer betrayal. If they understand this, war would end next hour. Well, instead, they are just being racist. I mean, I haven't seen worse example of racism as the Ukrainians are exhibiting.
Yeah, there was a Twitter chain in which many media companies are talking about, oh, these people are our own people. The people are not like Afghanistan and other people, other country, Iraq, and they have been talking about the color of eyes and look like us. There is an inherent element there, which I said earlier on in NATO, for example. It is a white man's country's club. It is certainly you hit me, I hit you back. Hit one, all 40 will attack, or 30, whatever the membership is all about. So it is. Ukraine is being played upon. There is some big promise being made. Either Biden has told them that I'll give you back $1 billion if you continue to fight, and that's the kind of thing happening. But let's give the credit that this Zelensky fellow has one quotation that will be remembered for lifelong by everybody. When he was offered to flee the country, he said,
I'm not even
"I
sure
want
he was
I
offered.
want ammunition."
Are you sure he was offered evacuation? That's just a made story.
That's
It's a
another part of
very,
it.
very
That's
good
right.
movie script. After all, it's a
That's
comedy.
right.
He
That's
used to do comedy from script. So this is also another script.
right.
I
This is
refuse to believe he
possibly
was offered evacuation by the US. I don't think US had the ability to organize that.
at that time he was not available.
Yes, it simply wasn't.
That's right.
Any American aircraft would have been blown out of the sky by that.
Right. Right. And they're not members of NATO either. So the
They're
chances
not
of them
members.
becoming members of the can't fair. They've been left alone, actually, if you ask me.
And the West has lost big time.
Big time.
This all of air through their sheer overreach. Next one, and hubris, of course. Next question. Yugesh Sairedi, in your opinion, what is the limit of liberalism in democracies like Ukraine, beyond which the population becomes ignorant about national realities? Ukrainians are being killed to show NATO supremacy. By the way, it was ranked really low on the Freedom of Democracy Index, this country, Ukraine.
Yeah. And they were lecturing us, that why should we support them? They're being voted for us in many doing things against India interest. But there is a very important point here, Yogesh. Liberalism in democracies. One word which catches everybody's imagination is called freedom. Freedom of what? Yeah, Ukraine has the freedom to fight, but do they have the ability to fight? So if you are not able to back your freedoms in a manner that it deserves to be, then you're going to die on the streets just as it is going to happen there. It is a sad thing. Let's not be mistaken about it. This entire thing is not something that anybody can approve of, technically speaking or emotionally speaking. But why is it happening at all? Is it because we are, a fight was long overdue? Was it because the Russian army in the inventory was saying idle? They just thought that is put it in action, or just because Ukraine was a country that was available for bartering? What is it a victim of NATO American play to bring down Russia? Because neither of these groups of people were willing to have a confrontation with Russia at all. So you use a proxy to bloody his nose. To what extent it gets bloody, we do not know. But it is definitely a big challenge. So I think NATO as an organization is a suspect group of people. I think it is the white man's country club, and it is getting exposed to the rest of the world.
Right, right. Okay, next question, please. Infinity and beyond. Thank you. When India will take back PUK, and I support Russia. Well,
Yeah, that is the question. That's the $1 million question about India taking back PUK. I think that is deal with India will have to do with China to make sure that they don't step in to when India does that. I think India must take over.
and for all those lecturing India democracy, just let me inform that India score on that even that ridiculous freedomhouse.org, even there, India's score was higher than Ukraine. Ukraine was 60, India was 67.
Right.
And then these fellows are talking about democracy to India. Just imagine.
India has to resist this kind of thing, Sanjay. I think so. That's what I was talking about. I give the bigger names of World Bank and Chinese Federation, who can Geo Federation that take down Putin's title. They can take down his skill, can he? Can they? That's what is important to bear in mind. That
They are not going to do anything.
correct.
And Russia has actually punctured the balloon. It will suffer.
Right.
Russia is going to suffer.
Right.
But in long run, Russia is going to come out smiling and laughing, and Biden and the establishment is going to come out looking ridiculous. Come on, a country that had to run out of Afghanistan with its tail between its legs. They are talking of confronting Russia,
Exactly.
mighty ex-superpower
Exactly.
with thousands of nuclear warheads. I mean,
Correct.
they were really insane, and Ukraine was even more insane to have fallen for it.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
bet
US is not going to go into a physical war. They have already denied that. NATO is not going to do that. So Ukraine, they are trying to stifle or
They're trying to prolong the war using
Yeah,
Ukraine. Come on, countries and this.
correct.
You have been betrayed big time. And अफ्रीका का फर्स्ट टारगेट भी चाइना है और इस तरह इन्होंने वजह से सब लोग इनको वीक समझ रहे हैं पर मुझे इनकी चाइना को उत्तेजित करने की चाल लगती है कि अचानक अमेरिका इतना वीक क्यों होगा जरूर कोई लंबी ट्रिप करी है अरे भाई साहब अमेरिका इतना ही वीक है क्योंकि अमेरिका के पास विल पावर नहीं बची है अमेरिका की डेमोक्रेसी ने अपनी सोसाइटी को अपने समाज को अपने जितने भी इनके फैमिली सिस्टम को इतना नष्ट कर दिया है कि उनके पास किसी तरह की कोई शक्ति है ही नहीं लड़ाई करने की और ये आज से नहीं आप देख सकते हैं आप वियतनाम के समय से देख लिए वियतनाम युद्ध क्यों हारे थे इसी कारण हारे थे जहाँ लंबा खिंचा कोई भी वार ये दुम दबा के भागने वालों से ये बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं कर सकती दूर से बैठे बैठे मिसाइल चला सकते हैं बस Mahesh, 9 India doesn't throw the West line, the deep state they might try to create in Ukraine or Libya here too. We need a plan to not let that happen.
Absolutely correct. And I think I alluded to that right at the beginning, that the toolkit is already working. It's working from here. And you have enough traitorous people back home who will back. So you have many areas that they will raise a boogie. I have said this before and I'll say it again. Three themes on which they will attack the current government. One is human rights violations, one is minority subjugation, and anti-religious activities. These are the three planks on which they will be hitting India. And we have to be very clearly aware of it and call their bluff out. It's very important. You're totally right, Mahesh. I agree with you.
The way you use social media is running propaganda war. It shows how use can be the next imperialist power. Next, isn't it already won? Why should be careful before supporting US blindly? I think Pranay has taken the democratic noises made in the US too seriously.
Things like this, even the US, for example, the media is totally divided. Nobody takes CNN, MSNBC seriously anymore, unless you are an extreme liberal, unless you are an extreme Democratic Party supporter, unless you are a Biden supporter because you hated Trump. So there are certain categories of people who always are there peddling an agenda. Now people know. People are no longer relying on NTV to get the facts. They're talking to you and I. This is what is important. A transformative thing has happened in the communication era, and that's a good thing to happen. That's a very good thing to happen. I am so delighted to see Vijay Ayyathra being loved so much by the people who are commenting there, inquiring where he is. So I will say it again. He had an emergency for which he had to fly to tonight. That's why he's not on the show. So you have to see another body. That's what you're doing here. So
Instead of two, you can see only one.
he gets only one. One Tamaka Chand.
Next. Aman Srivastava will negotiate with China on Taiwan and POK. Vice versa. I think too early to talk about that.
Too early to talk about.
Next. Rocky hypothetical India China Russia allies. I don't think so.
We'll never become allies for one reason, and there's so much mistrust about Chinese intent. Chinese have to
Both Russia as well as India.
So Chinese have to come out clean, as the saying goes. You have to
You
come out.
always have transactional relationship,
Yes,
but
yes.
trust, I don't think.
Will not happen.
Pikachu, and do you think US is trying to do the same what they did to Syria, Iraq, Tulsi? But at least video saying that Ukrainian PM is pro-USA. Tulsi gave very simple information. He said, just say that we are not taking NATO to Ukraine. And
I told her.
would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
What can
She's
we
been
say?
amazingly bold about it. She's not hiding anything, and she has been openly critical of the military establishment. And they want to have the second Cold War going on, so that they keep selling the weaponry. And it's very important to bear in mind the famous quotation from Professor Moriarty in the movie Sherlock Holmes, when he talks about the First World War era. He says that the human mind is so full of conflicts that all that matters is what you are supplying, bandages or bullets or both. So that's what is happening. You're seeing the play out in Europe. Yeah.
Next. Jigar, why not China, India, Pak, Shah colonized the colonizers who have massacred and occupied half the globe with impunity? Let's bleed and exploit us. LOL. I can say LOL because you're putting four countries together
Yeah.
to do this job.
With Russia, China, and Pakistan, they want India dead. So how can we be friends with somebody who wants you destroyed? So that's the thing we bear in mind.
Next. Taking a clue from Russia, Ajay Mehta, should India go Sri Lanka? The Chinese influences were increasing in this island nation.
China is laying a single-handed NATO advanced territory rule with India, of encircling India, by putting their own billion-dollar sovereign funds to lure them into doing something. But what is important to bear in mind here is that gradually people will realize that China is a dictatorial country, and whatever money they give, they will ruin you with their killer contracts. So I would suspect that Sri Lanka leadership is not idiotic not to know that. And they have just survived the Islamic attack, and they took bold action. They have just survived the Elam battle that was there. So I don't think Sri Lanka will kowtow so easily to Chinese overtures. They would rather be too close to India to have a permanent Chinese influence in the sense to destabilize or affect or hurt India. Sri Lanka would be wise not to do that.
Right. Next. Dinesh Asani. Thank you. Krishna Sundar, Sleepo orders 16 million barrels to control price. US uses 20 million per day.
Yeah, exactly, Krishna, you are right. That's what I was saying, that they have ordered, which is 30 million barrels, which is a day and a half consumption, which is absolutely correct. That is height of stupidity. Because you can't have suddenly, fulfill a 2 day commitment.
And Kasha in forgot Burka. No, it's not been forgotten. It's just that the judgment is reserved.
Right.
So everybody is keeping their ammunition at bay for the moment.
Right.
And
The
it's
storyline
not
has to change. The storyline has to change, and you can't continue with one story. So you create another story. Die another day, James Bond movie. Melody at front. I think.
infinity and beyond. Why doesn't Russia fear the West? Is EU afraid of Russia? And why they don't help Ukraine? Very good, simple question. This simple question, a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of other people, a lot of good journalists are asking the United States actually.
Right. The fun thing is that the fear doesn't come in mind. Russia doesn't fear West. EU fears Russia because Russia supplies a lot of their energy requirements, and but Ukraine can't be helped because they are not members of NATO yet. So that's why.
And this is interesting. I just read something between Prime Minister Modi and Putin. And Putin is saying that Indian students have been taken hostage by Ukrainian security forces, who are using them as human shields and preventing them, no, this is interesting,
Mm.
quote unquote, from leaving for Russian territory. Interesting.
Right.
Okay. Sanjeev Joshi said, what if China says, I want you to invade Sri Lanka and pass just like Russia? We don't have
This
such a situation that we are not as foolish as the United States.
Right.
And even China, for all its encirclement and everything, it hasn't done anything as foolish as the United States did.
Right.
It's only the Pakistan who is a willing concubine.
That's why they go running around everywhere. Go for a Zoom call to China to have a Zoom call. Travel to China to have a Zoom call with the president.
Just imagine, they abstain knowing full well that is they are under the FATF. Next, Jigar, and I forgot, Taliban has offered humanitarian assistance to Ukraine.
Taliban has been telling you people must shun war. It's not a good idea.
Yes. Jigar, you have conveyed about Taliban, else what we are doing in green zones for a decade. Well, good question again. I don't have an answer. Next. Mahesh Narayan, India needs to probably also start working on an alternative to Swift. Yes, we talked about it. We did talk about it. We upgrade UPI. Next. Piyush, the way I feel Biden is not weak, he's super smart. Come on, Vibhuti, all your theories are not dust. He managed to create chaos in each without even doing a single American man. What's your opinion? When do you think there are going to be demonstrations against high gas prices in the US? When they start?
Is your question is what we are talking about? Because I have briefly gone off the grid. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay.
I only added my comment
Okay, what was the
about the
comment?
US gas prices shooting up and progress on that.
There is tremendous anger. The election season has begun in America. The Texas primaries are over yesterday, and so the governor candidate in Texas. It is so now you are going to see domestic matters play out. And Biden is remarkably unpopular because there's brought about so much of price increase. This inflation is at a 40-year high. Gas prices have doubled up. So you are questioning. You are in an area in a country. Driving is an essential part of your life. It's not luxury. You have to drive to work, do your things because distances are huge. And people are now complaining that we have to cut down drastically our driving habits. The transport minister says, yeah, be prepared to pay higher prices because you are driving for no reason at all. So the question here is that when will people rise up? So you have seen what happened in Canada. Something similar is going to happen because people will not tolerate because price rise reduces the value of dollar. By President Biden making a statement yesterday that don't cut prices, don't cut wages, reduce cost, is classic admission that I have no strategy. Because in our world, we say you don't become great by cutting costs, you become great by doing things smart. Cutting cost happens in the absence of a strategy. So you look at a scenario where they will get hurt in the coming elections very badly. They are not able.
Biden, the environmentalist, is not going to allow shale oil production to increase either.
They will suffer. Democratic Party will suffer in the upcoming elections.
But impose sanctions on Canada. Well, we're talking about Ukraine, Popji. Let's leave Canada out for the moment.
But on the funny side, Canada cancelled its oil purchases from Russia. And they said that everything matters. They have not purchased Russian oil since 2019. So they can't cancel oil. That doesn't exist.
Jokers. Do Russia have influence in Cuba and Venezuela? Yes. Why they are not threatening the US from there? That's because they need to place their missiles over there first.
We have already had a big Cuban crisis during Kennedy era. And I don't think anybody wants that, neither Russians or America. It's a terrible idea to have Russia and US go head to head or toe to toe with Russia's nuclear arsenals.
Yeah, it's better to use Ukraine for the US.
Yes,
As far as
exactly.
when it comes to itself, you just run away.
Right.
It says, no, 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 no. They are not going to use our army or military. Jigger, former colonies still controlled by proxy. Gandhi was same six battle to Vatican, US, deep state, Anglo loyalists, use as cannon for. Exactly our thoughts,
Yeah.
Jigger. Next. Krishna Sundar, Ukraine got $350 million after invasion and Taliban got $85 billion. Suman Ray, if two sects of Christianity can come this far, what are the chances these people will take with northeastern states, India, Manipur, and Nagaland? How sensitive situation there? Well, I think that's a totally different tangent, and I would not like to go there. We already over time. Garima Rao helps us thank this episode. As it may, NATO is not showing any signs of having its boots in Ukraine. It's just huffing and puffing itself as well as Ukraine. So NATO coming in between is not a likely scenario. How you think Mr. Putin is saying that if NATO come in between, it will lead to World War III, it will nuclear war will play out. Why did he say so? Because it seems that there was no use of it. He said this plainly so that even if they harbored the least bit of thought of coming to the rescue of Ukraine, they would hold their hand. And he is very well aware of the cowardice of these NATO and US and Biden and Kamala and all these characters. That's what he said, and it has had the right effect.
In the poker language, it's called he played the check move. That's
Ah, yes,
yeah.
it will be actually.
Double bluffing.
Or are you believe Ukraine is trying to hold back foreign nationals, women, and children playing the game? From all the evidence that I see, it doesn't look like that. I mean, the boy that was killed by the Ukrainians, not by the Russians. There's no Russian shell. And that entire Western world and the Indian boys, they played the narrative that there was a Russian shell. There wasn't any. He was simply standing in the supermarket queue when he was shot.
Right.
Next, Dr. Kishore Kumar Masters just now watching message that Russia agreed to stop war for 6 hours to evacuate Indian diaspora. Is that true and how it is possible in the midst of war? Well, it has happened. It has happened. And now you know that it is more important for us to rescue our people. That's why abstentions were there. So the abstentions have actually saved so many Indian lives. So what are these Johnnies like a Republic TV or person crying about? Next.
The other part also is very important that America has said to its own citizens that you, whatever you want, we are not coming to evacuate.
Yes, okay. That's classical American way actually.
No, this
To
is
abandon its people, to abandon its allies, to abandon its principles, everything they abandon. All they know is money, money, money.
cut the loss.
Loss. British, why not Russia also make a call for jihad to fight US and Azov brigade, asking people to volunteer, just like how Zelensky calling for international volunteers. He's doing nothing of that kind. Zelensky is only paying up. He's a social media chameleon like our own Kejriwal. He's a Kejriwal of
I did a
Europe.
change. I want to say the subject to the people here, audience here. I called Arun Kejriwal Nautanki in 2014, and now his behavior qualifies to be called Arun Krawala. That's a new name for him.
Next. France does a cut vote in EU to make an impact on French and Indian government relations. No, I don't think so.
Ah,
International relations are often independent relations. I think
yeah,
everybody's mature to understand that. Even US fact, the State Department spokesman said we understand India's position.
correct.
The effect of this conflict on Indian economy. Well, from the pink rate in form of the fuel prices
Right.
having hit $112 already.
That's right. And it was mentioned that they were factoring oil prices at $115 a barrel, and if this particular thing goes on, there will be severe price hike on the gas front, on the oil front, as we call it. So that will have similar big effect. And how much of the Indian goods and services are Russia going to buy? We do not know. But it will have effect. But we have survived many more. India has survived many, many more disasters.
India survived US in sanctions.
The US sanction for a long time.
Even US, they were UN supported sanctions.
Okay.
They were not ordinary sanctions.
Yes,
I think
there are yeah.
one last question has come up, so I think we might just take it.
Okay.
Chiggar, I feel Islamists and Shiites bartered with British and the nominees to carve out Northeast Skin's neck Pakistan, so Northeast never integrated. It's not exactly like that. The church was facilitated by our Lehru Chacha. Lehru Chacha was, that his friend Weir Elvin was given passport to do what he preached in the Northeast. In fact, at his command, sadhus were told not to venture into Nagaland. And that was flashed as a kind of a great job by Lehru Chacha. Lehru Chacha is Lehru Chacha. Okay, so that we come to the end of the show. Below you can watch our support systems, our support links. You can use that to support us. And the World War III is not happening soon. Why? Because the West is taken out. So thank you very much. Thank you, Vibhuti.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all the viewers and best of
Thank
luck.
you all the viewers.
Yeah.
Jai Hind, Vande
Jai
Mataram.
Hind.